Namaskar. Welcome to the new session. This is in continuation with the previous session, because at the end of the previous session I said we'll have to consider the Vachikriya in Vaikhari. Vaikhari is express speech. It's our vocal organ. So when we are speaking on a Vaikhari plane, which is express plane, oral plane, vocal plane, one thing is that all oration is by exhalations. That's an observation which has come in Upanishads. You make a complete exhalation and try to speak, you will not have oration. You cannot be having oration inhalatively. The oration can only happen in an exhalative process. So when the exhalation is offered, it is said in a kind of rhetorics that when the exhalation is offered into vocal cord, then it becomes your speech. So, therefore, the speech is by exhalations. Because of exhalation, through the exhalation, in the process of exhalation, and the exhalation becomes a gaseous matter, and then it strikes the larynx, the vocal cords, and the sounds are produced. So, in Vaikhari, it becomes Vayu Kriya. Whereas, if you recall in Pranayam, I said we are going to use the speech on another plane. There are 4 planes, if you recall. What underlies Vaikhari is Madhyama, and then what underlies Madhyama is Pashyanti, and what underlies Pashyanti is Para. So Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama, Vaikhari. If you recall, I also mentioned the locations. The Vaikhari is the region of the Vaikhari is mouth, speech organ. Madhyama is the throat region, where you have larynx, vocal cords. And then below that, in the chest region, we have the third speech called Pashyanti, and the fourth speech is down in navel. So navel, chest, throat, mouth. These are the regions respectively of Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama, Vaikhari. Now in Pranayam or in Prana Kriyas of asanas, we have to use the silent speech, and therefore the exhalation doesn't have to manifest in a gaseous form. While for Vaikhari it has to have a gaseous manifestation, the air has to go through the larynx and the vocal cords and strike the vocal cords for our sound to be produced. Now let's try to understand the combination of Vaikhari and Madhyama, and then we will understand how the sound forms have organic bearing, how they work on our organic body. So all of you know that the single lettered mantra, the Om, has 3 syllables, namely A, U, Ma. Now, I am going to give you an illustration here. Will be a demonstrators for yourself. You'll be demonstrating and will try to understand how the sound forms can work in the combination of Vaikhari and Madhyama, that is, express speech and silent speech. So, the first syllable of the mantra Om, single lettered mantra, Ekakshara mantra Om, is A. Now, you will all have to chant the first letter A as long as you have the oration. See, the oration will stop at a point in time where your exhalation will not have ended. That is why those who are constantly speaking, their exhalations are shallow, unless they mindfully exhale completely. In the process of speech, you can't be producing sound when the breath exhalation has gone down to a velocity level. Then you can't produce sound. Then it doesn't remain as Vaikhari. So you are supposed to chant or recite the first syllable as long as you have the oration, as long as the sound is vocalized. And when the oration is lost, vocalization is lost, you continue to utter the same letter silently until your exhalation ends, completely the exhalation ends. And then find out where do you get contraction. Then second syllable will be similarly done, which is U, uttering it as far as you can have express vocalization of it. When the vocalization goes away, you have to continue to mentally or silently chant the U until the exhalation ends. And then the third, the M. Or it can be Either it can be or it can be M. So it will be uttered in two phases. One is vocal phase, Vaikhari phase, followed by Madhyama phase, where you silently keep on uttering. Now all of you take a deeper inhalation, well-equipped inhalation for a long oration. So take a deeper inhalation so that you can be exhaling longer and you can have a longer oration. And go on uttering When the voice stops, continue mentally, close the mouth and continue mentally. Find out where do you get contraction. It's a region of the body. This will be somewhere in the belly region. You will get contraction in the belly region, abdominal region. So this you can try on your own 2-3 times and testify it, verify it. Invariably, you will get contraction there. Then the second syllable, U. So take a deeper inhalation, well-equipped inhalation for a long oration, and then start uttering U until the voice disappears. Then close the mouth and continue uttering it. You will get contraction in the heart region, chest region. So this also you can verify, testify, doing that couple of times. And then the last one is either or M. So when the oration disappears, continue mentally. Close, the mouth is already closed for You will get contraction in the brain region. So in esoteric physiology, there are 3 knot junctions. When I say knot junctions, they are KNOT, knot junctions. In human psyche, we have 3 knot junctions which create complexity in our life. the life becomes more complicated and complex because of the knots. In the abdominal region, it is called Vasana Granthi. But the Kama Pitha is there. According to the text, the Kama Pitha. Pitha means locus. Kama means passion. And that is the passion knot junction. So, by that contraction, we are working on the passion zone. Contraction of the passion zone. So it will work on Vasana Granthi. Granthi means one of the meanings is also knot junction. K-N-O-T knot. Knot junction. Vasana Granthi. The U will work similarly in the chest region. So we have complexities in our psyche because of emotional center, emotional knots, emotional complexities, because we are differently related to different people, and we have different kinds of bonds with different people. Like one having bond with one's mother is one kind of bond. One having bond with one's sister is another kind of bond. One having a bond with one's own wife is another kind of bond. One having bond with one's own daughter is another kind of bond. So we have different emotional knots for different relationships, and these are different bonds. The bonds are different for one with mother, sister, wife, child, cousin, aunt, aunties, grandparents, other relationships. Similarly, father, brother is a different bond for a person with brother, with father, with cousins, with friends. So we have different emotional affiliations with different people because we are differently related. Because the other day I said that if one doesn't have any relationship or is not related to the world and is not able to relate someone with something, and then it's not life at all. You must relate yourself with the things and with people. If you don't relate yourself with things and people, it is not really life. So we have these passion bondages, passion knots for different things. You are most fond of something. How is the passion for it? You are not so much fond of something. How is the passion for it? You don't like something. What happens to passion there? You dislike something. You hate something. You loathe something. You love something. So we have these bondages. We are not just related to people. We are also related to things. We are also related to things which are inanimate things. You are fond of something and you are not so fond of something. So these are emotional bondages which we have. We have passion bondages with different things and different people. It's not only that we have the passion bonds with relation to living things like people and our pets. Even with the things we have it. So we have passion knots with regards to inanimate things and animate things. Our things and which are not so our things. So that's a junction where it's very complex knots. Now when you exhaled in the abdomen, when the abdomen was contracted, that is the way the knots are loosened. So understand, this seems to be a paradox, that when you contract the abdomen, that will work on that region to loosen the knots. And then for the second letter, which came to chest region, the heart region, which are emotional bondages. We are emotionally bound with different people differently. There are some close people, there are not so close people. So we have different emotional bonds with different people who are close or not so close or very distant people to us. But however, there is some emotionality in the sense of likes and dislikes, loathes and loves, attachments and aversions. So there is some kind of role of the emotional zone, emotional center with the people and with the things with which we are associated. And there are lots of knots. So again, it's a knotty junction. When I say knotty, it is K-N-O-T-Y. Then in the brain we have lots of knots as regards one's identity, one's ego, then one's thought locus, because our thoughts are stored in the brain. So it's a lot of dumping in the brain. And therefore there are lots of knots which are formed in the brain region. The last syllable, or m of Om, it can be m also. So you will see that it works on the brain. And actually it works on 3 granthis. In the text of yoga, there is mention of granthi traya, the triad of knot junctions. We have triad, the 3 knot junctions: the passion knots, the emotional knots, and the ego knots, identity knots, etc. So these 3 are important granthis. And in yoga, we need to be working on these 3 granthis for the passional management, emotional management, and ego identity management. When I say ego, it is not literal meaning of the ego, which means pride or arrogance, self-conceit, etc. It is the I-ness. It is the I-ness, one's I-ness. So I am speaking to ego principle and not ego psychosis. So the Om is said to be working on these 3 regions, which are locus, which are loci for Vasana Granthi, Bhavana Granthi, Ahankara Granthi. Ahankara again is not ego as it is in common man's parlance. It is identity, one's I-ness. So the utterances that you had in 2 phases, the first one is Vayu Kriya. And the one which took place in the second phase silently, that was Prana Kriya. So the 3 syllables were uttered by us in 2 phases, starting with Vayu Kriya, ending with Prana Kriya. The head piece is Vayu Kriya, where there is vocalization, oration, use of larynx, use of sound box, vocal cords. For the second phase, we don't need vocal cords. We don't need larynx. And therefore, the breath can work in different locations because of that volume. Now, knowing that it works like this, the mantras and even the languages, the vernacular languages, have a typical distinction compared to non-vernacular languages. In our sentences and statements, they end with a verb, and verb will be always ending with a vowel. The verbs, the last sound form of the sentence will be a long one, vowel. It will be vowel. Like मैं आ रहा हूँ, मैं खा रहा हूँ. So it's a long vowel. So it will work. Vowels work, which we have experienced already. Whereas in other languages, there are breaks. Say if you take for example English, I am going, I am coming, I am eating, I am standing. There is abruptly breaking at the end of the statement. And therefore that advantage doesn't come. See, with the emotional variations, sometimes you might be angrily telling someone that I am coming. In Hindi, say, मैं आ रहा हूँ, you will prolong it. You can't do that in English. You can't say, I am coming, you won't do that. If it has emotional overtone, whereas in vernacular, with emotional overtone, we prolong it further. We don't cut it. So, the Indian languages had this wisdom coming from the lower, and that's why languages had certain practices. Whereas for other languages, we don't relate the language to our own physiology. Let that be any English, any modern language of the world. They don't relate it to their organism. They don't relate it to their physiology. Whereas these sound forms work on our physiology. The vowels, the consonants, the vowelized consonants, they work on our organic body. Therefore, the speech also will work on our body. As it works outside in communication, that somebody might be hurt or somebody might be elated by what you say. But that doesn't work on your own physiology that way, directly. It will work indirectly because of your mind. The mind will kind of address your organs negatively or positively. But the language itself doesn't work, although they are using all the components which can work on organic body. See, it dawned upon too late for modern sciences, and they came with the concept of ultrasound. Sonography. What is sonography? Sono. What is sono? Ultrasound. What is ultrasound? Now, all the living body will be producing sounds. All the organs produce sounds. All the organs work with a sound. If you want to have a sound organ, the sound organ will be only diagnosed or perceived as sound organ when it has a proper sound of it. If the sound is not proper, then the organ will not be sound. So, the oratory system can work on our organs. And this is what is taken up by the technology of yoga, identifying the pranic system and then understanding how the oration can work on pranic system. So understand how the oral system is so important for physiology, and later even esoteric physiology, because just now I refer to granthis. These don't come in exoteric physiology. You will not find them in any book of anatomy. However, they are mentioned in the texts of yoga while it deals with human anatomy physiology. It speaks of 3 granthis. So it can work on those granthis. And all these sound forms will work like that. Now don't think this is something of Sanskrit. This is not of Sanskrit, this is of our human system. Our human oral system can produce these sounds. And then these sounds can work on our physiology, from grosser to subtler. You know that a statement can impact somebody's mind. But suppose when the sentence is broken in literal letters, it doesn't work like that. See, if I say, you are a stupid fellow, you are hurt. But then, if I phonetically break it and start uttering that, you will not be able to construe that I have made that statement that you are a stupid fellow. Because I break it. I say ye, who, r, s, t, u, p, e. So you will not construe that I am abusing you. So these prana kriyas, mere sound forms, can work wonders. They don't turn out any meaning. If they don't turn out any meaning, it won't work on your emotional organ. Because if the statement has a meaning, then it works on your emotion, it works on your intelligence, it works on your mind because it has a meaning. Either you are hurt or you are happy, delighted or stressed or tensed or worried or angry. So it will trigger all sorts of emotions depending upon meaning of the statement. But the constituent of every statement, literal letters, don't have meaning. Now it just comes to my memory. It is however not in your syllabus at this juncture, but let me tell you that the grammar of Panini, which is not the right kind of expression in English, Panini Vyakarana. Panini Vyakarana deals with a theory called Spotavada. See, all these letters are having potentials to form a word. All the letters, literal letters, have potentials to form a word. And the words have potentials to form a statement. And the statement has a meaning. However, the literal letters don't have the meaning, however, potentially they have it. So they are enormous powers. See, in English, you have only 26 literal letters, alphabets. But in 26 letters, how many subjects have come about? Just with 26 alphabets. How they are forming words? Just 26 letters gives you millions and millions of words. See the potency. See the potential of the literal letter. Mere 26. With 26 letters, you can write a huge book containing 10,000 pages, 20,000 pages, 10 million words, or 100 million words. So see the potentials of each literal letter, alphabet. Now this is recognized by Indian grammarians, that each letter is potentially equipped to form a word, and then the words together can form a statement, and statement together can form a description. That's enormous potentials. And we are using these little literal letters. And they work on our systemic body. So the speech is enormously connected with our systemic body because of the breath. Now, since it is silent utterance, you can also use the inhalative process. Now, you tried with exhalation. Try the with inhalation silently. You can't, because you can't have vocalization. You can't have oration of sound while you are inhaling. However, you can have silent utterance. So it will work differently on your systemic body, cellular body, nervous system, the corporeal body, vascular system. It will work differently. So using the silent utterance while you are inhaling is possible because of Madhyama. You can't use inhalation for Vaikhari. You can use it for Madhyama. So these nearly 330 sound forms, 335 odd sound forms, single lettered. For your amusement, I can just chant it out. A, A, I, U, Ru, Lu, E, I, O, Au, Aha. K, K, G, 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 C, C, Z, Z, N, T, T, D, D, N, T, Th, D, Th, N, P, P, B, B, M, Y, R, L, V, Sh, Sh, S, H, L, Ksha. Then if these consonants are vowelized, such as K, Ka, Ki, Ku, K, Kha, Ki, Ku, G, Ga, Gi, Gu, you will get 335 plus single letter sound forms which will uniquely work on physiology. So yoga makes use of this combination of your exhalations and madhyama. Even when it comes to japa, etc., the madhyama is also a form of japa, can be used. It's an instrument for japa as much as Vaikhari. What you call as mental japa, it is not mental japa precisely. It is oratory, silent oratory japa. It is a madhyama japa. So it can work on physiology. So these sound forms are meant for our physiology. Now if you want to have just a testification and verification of it, pedantically, if you open out any text of yoga where you get the description of 6 plexi, chakras, you will see that the chakras are petals. 4 plus 6 plus 10 plus 12 plus 16 plus 2, total 50. So each petal has each letter, one single letter. That's how the Shakti manifests within us. The other day I said there are 51 Shakti Pithas and each of the Shakti Pitha has one letter. And then I told you about that Upanishad called Akshamala Upanishad, where it explains how each letter manifests in the universe, from which you get mountains, rivers, trees, plants, stones and metals and whatnot. So that's how the creation is, and it is all with these sound forms. The Shakti is the power, and that power turns out all manifestations. And the same Shakti within ourselves resides, manifests in Shat chakras. If you look at the depiction of the 6 chakras, you will identify the deities there, Shakti forms there, and the letters there. So the whole Pranamaya Kosha is made up of these sound forms. Today you have this impression that pranayama is to do something with the breath and breathing, and then that is Shvasayam. Why the science calls it pranayam? Because the breath must be either in pranayam, samantrak or amantrak, that means sound forms have to be there. With no sound form, there is no pranayam. Inscribe this very deeply in your mind. If you don't have any sound forms, it is not pranayam. So there must be sound forms. Single letter to nama, to bija mantras, to mantras. There are so many kinds of mantras if you look into mantra shastra. Different forms of mantras are there. So all these are made up of these sound forms, which the human vocal cord can produce. And human vocal system can produce. And the same can be working silently as well. We can silently speak. No animal, bird can silently cry, silently chirp. They know only one way. Birds will chirp aloud. Animals will have their cries and sounds aloud. They don't have anything of that kind like silent. A dog will not silently bark. Whereas we can bark, we can shout orally, and we can also do that silently. This is how human psyche is made up of, human system is made up of. We don't have to make expressions, we can silently speak. So the speech comes in those ways, and silent speech has been enormously used by yoga technology. And this oral organ is not just for us to be talking and speaking and communicating. You ask the value of this human oratory system, ask the value and worth of it to a musician, to a vocalist. How important is the vocal system? Ask a vocalist, a musician. You and me, a layman who are not familiar with music, we will never imagine what is the value of it. See, the human vocal system can turn out melodies. It's not that it's only meant for us to speak. When it comes to music, the human vocal system can sing. It can be sonorous. It can have magic spells. And it means enormous to a vocalist. So if you are not familiar with music, and if you are not a vocalist yourself, ask a vocalist how valuable is that part, the throat part, the vocal cords, the larynx, how important they are, what is value of it. For you and me, there is not much value. Only when we can't speak for some reason, then we are in a problem and difficulty. We are impaired. But understand how important it is for a vocalist to protect it, to nurture it, to work it. They enormously work on vocal system. If you know some musician, ask them how do they train their throats, their vocal organs. It is worthwhile learning something, understanding something, just as an information, how they train their own vocal system through music. They have enormous schemes, fabulous schemes. So they have explored the vocal region, vocal organ in one way, because they can sing from it. And they can cast a spell on thousands of people with their melody. It can evoke emotionality in people. The music can give what they call as delight of the soul, so-called. Delight of the soul through music, etc. These expressions are there. See, what is the realm of operation for human vocal system? If you decide to learn vocal music, you will know how you will be training your vocal muscles differently. And yogis, the musicians have understood the nada aspect of it, dhvani aspect of it, the sound aspect of it, the melody aspect of it, the nada aspect of it. Yogis have gone even beyond. So that's how this Vachika Kriya is worth exploring for a student of yoga. So in your asanas, try to use different forms. See how does it work. Then you know these Pancha Tattvas. If you want to work on your embodiment and if you want to work on your consciousness, the matter of the consciousness and matter of the body is 5 elements. The 5 elements make up the body, 5 elements make up the mind, psyche, consciousness. So there are Pancha Tattvas which are behind, which are infrastructure or infra matter of mind organs and body organs both. Body matter and mind matter both. So therefore there are Panchatattva Kriyas. If you know the Bija mantras of these 5 elements, Lam for element of earth, Vam for element of water, Ram for element of fire, Yam for element of air, Hum for element of ether, space. So you can be carrying out this management through yoga technology, in breath, out breath, inner retention, outer retention, thicker exhalation, thinner exhalation, thicker inhalation, thinner inhalation, breath of different confinement, different locations with Lam, Vam, Ram, Yam, Hum. They would carry out that management of the infra matter of mind stuff and infra matter of the body stuff. So that needs the Tattva Kriya, which is again because of the Prana Kriya. Then yoga works on chakras. The chakras have their letters. Like the Muladhara chakra has 4 petals, 4 letters, Vam, Sham, Sham, Sam. So that can be used in your in-breath and out-breath for Muladhara Kriya, then Swadhisthana Kriya, then Manipuraka Kriya, then Anahata Kriya, then Vishuddhi Kriya, and then Agnya Kriya. So that's part of esoterics of asanas. If you look into Prana Kriya, Chakra Kriya, Tattva Kriya, they are all because of sound forms. You can't use no sound form and you say that you are doing element of earth management. No sound form, you are doing the element of fire management. Impossible. Impossible. Not as an exception that it is possible. So that's how human sound system, oral system has enormous bounties. We must try to explore it. So, since this has been the first kind of lesson for you in Vachikriya, we will not go much more deeper into it. So, I have given some basic information for you, basic knowledge for you to understand how Vachikriya is important. See, Vachikriya, I will just give you some words from a mystic saint. See, these days we say this is the world with all evils. We are in the time called Kali Yuga and we say the whole world is evil, wicked. Where there is no place for you to commit or accumulate virtues or punya. We can only be accumulating even unwillingly or unaware or helplessly. We'll collect lots of sins. This is how the world is around us. This is the Kali Yuga. Lots of vices. Lots of wickedness is what a complaint of a common man like you and me. We complain about the world. We all just have complaints about the world. The world is wicked, we say. Where is the scope to do and accumulate punya? One of the mystic saints has said that you can take recourse to Vachikriya, which is done internally. You do internally the Vachikriya, you will be collecting virtues. Or at least for that duration, you will not commit vices. Sometimes Guruji had given this example. When you are in Shirshasana, if nothing is good happening to you, at least you are weaned away from wicked acts for that duration. If you are 10 minutes on the head, you can't be kicking someone, you can't be slapping someone, you can't be beating someone. Perhaps we will not even speak by being in Shirshasana. So we will not abuse someone, curse someone, hurt someone. At least for 10 minutes you don't do any sin. Now that's a great merit. If you are not doing sin for those 10 minutes, is it not virtue? So when you are doing this oral prana kriya, you are subserving the deities within you, and that is collecting virtue, that is collecting punya. The mystic saint has said that yogis with prana kriya, with pranayam, collect lot of virtue. They are not committing social virtue, but within themselves they can accumulate lot of virtue by shunning themselves from the world. Now there is no world. Once you are inside, what you have inside is universe. You don't have the wicked world inside you. You have the wicked world outside you. You have this universe which is cosmos. Look at the meaning of it. Universe and cosmos, not chaos. Universe and not multiverse. Universe and not diverse. So within yourself you have such a thing, and then with the prana kriya or with the nama, you will accumulate a lot of virtue. Within ourselves we have dharma kshetra. This is one of the wonderful, interesting interpretations of the first verse of Bhagavad Gita, which commences with the concept of dharma kshetra kurukshetra. Arjuna is in dharma kshetra and kurukshetra. Now dharma kshetra within ourselves is a field of virtue, field of dharma. We can collect a lot of dharma by process of internal activity, internalized activity, which takes place in yoga. So the Vachik Kriya will help you collect a lot of virtue. Within yourself, just utter the name of the God, you will collect a lot of virtue. In silent speech, carry out the prana kriya in yogic process, you will collect a lot of virtue within yourself. So there will be no room to complain that the world is wicked and I can't be amassing virtue in this world. I can only amass sin in the world because the world is sinister. The ways of the world are sinister. So this prana kriya, vachik kriya, where just silent speech, talk within yourself in yogic process, in yogic culture, in yogic ambient, will collect a lot of virtue, which is not available outside in the world, particularly in our era, our times. We are in Kali Yuga, we are not in Satya Yuga, we are in Kali Yuga, the worst of four yugas. However, within you, inside, you don't have any yoga. You don't have even time and space within you. The delimitation of time and space which is outside you. Now outside you, for your temporal, cerebral world, this is Saturday. Today is Saturday. Internal world, there is no time and space. We escape all that. And we escape all those radiations of time and space, bad times and good times, etc. No such thing is there. The Vachik Kriya can help you collect virtues. Silent speech. That's why Nama Japa, Bhagwan Nama, Bhagavad Kirtana, praising the divinity, praising the God. Silently do that, will collect a lot of virtue. Because if you do that aloud, maybe somebody will prevent you, will say, please stop talking, no noise. Silently speak, nobody can prevent you, and you will collect a lot of virtue. With the last statement I will end. There is something called as Vachik Tapas in Bhagavad Gita. And Jnaneshwar wonderfully says that the yogis make their vacha as Vedashala by chanting hymns, Vedic suktas, Vedic mantras, chanting various eulogies to God, praise to God, etc., various compositions on God's divinity, that becomes Vedashala, academy of ultimate knowledge, essential knowledge. Veda is essential knowledge. So Vachechi Keli Vedashala is what the expression in Gyaneshwari. That is Vachik Tapas. Rather than blabbering and talking nonsense, why not? We can make it an academy of wisdom. That is why Saraswati resides in our mouth. The mouth which is spitful, she is not disgusted with it. The mouth which contains even fire, the mouth which contains the craziest organ in us, the tongue, yes, yet Saraswati opts to reside there. It is because of the Vacha. So it is presided over by the deity of wisdom, Saraswati. Anyway, much to say about Vacha, Vagendriya, Vak, Brahma. But enough for the time being. Namaskar.